but maybe first we can talk about the stigma of autism within the Black community.
Mhm.
So, first, could you explain what the stigma is? Like, what do people think when they hear the word autism?
So there's a stigma not only within our community, but outside of our community when it comes to um, autistic individuals who are Black. So within our community, it's a lot of misinformation because the correct information doesn't get to our communities, which is why we, have the gap in diagnosis compared to other races. But a lot of it does have to do with misinformation. It has to do with not trusting the healthcare system because of the history of being Black and being mistreated in the medical field. So, because of the misinformation, when you hear autism, a lot of times people think of intellectual disability. So they don't have the right information. For them, it's something that is extremely scary. So even hearing the word is like, no, don't put that on my child. That my child, don't label my child with this, because they don't know really what it is. They don't have the correct information. So it's become so scary that they just put a stop to anything else after that. So it's a lot of misinformation in the community.
Hmm. Did this stigma affect you and your family?
I don't think it necessarily affected me and my husband because we're in the field, and advocating for the rights of Black people, something that we do on a daily basis. So for us, it was more so get her the diagnosis so that she can get certain interventions. For my family, it did. I did have to do a lot of um,
Hmm.
educating on what autism exactly is, giving them an understanding. There was a lot of back and forth of, well, she can do this, so she can't be autistic, and having to explain to them that just because she can do this does not mean she isn't autistic. So it was a lot of educating, setting boundaries, having them understand that there's no shame in her being autistic, and we're not ashamed of her. But if that is something that you feel, then you can't be around us because we don't want to put that on her. So setting boundaries and having them understand, how we are moving with our daughter and how we're going to raise her, and understanding that she's to be proud in who she is.
Hmm. We've had a previous guest on this podcast talk about how religion plays a part in Black families not wanting to seek out medical help also. Have you
Yeah.
seen that too?
Yes, and I'm speaking in general here, but understand that Black people aren't monolithic, so this doesn't apply to everybody. But religion is a anchor in the Black community, and with a lot of medical mistrust, we do seek religion as a means to solve some issues. So there's, you go to your pastor. You're raised to know that if you have a problem, you get on your knees and pray about it. You don't talk to other people about it. You go to your pastor with any stressors or any thoughts you may have, and they're going to help you. So a lot of people have went to their pastors and told their pastors that their child is autistic, and what do they do next. And some pastors do a laying of the hand ceremony. And for those who don't know what that is, it's when you lay your hands on somebody and you pray that ailment out. Now we know
Mhm.
autism is not an ailment, and it's not something that you're going to be able to pray out and then they're cured in that sense. So, of course, when their child is still autistic after that, a lot of pastors then do a church hurt, which is blame the parent. They will say, oh, because of your past sins, now this is your burden to bear. And of course, that can be extremely foundation crumbling if your anchor is in your religion and you're looking to your pastor. A lot of parents are already dealing with guilt when it comes to their child's diagnosis. So having their pastor have a confirmation of this guilt can be extremely foundation crumbling. So it's a
Mm.
lot of church hurt that surrounds that. Or there's the other end where, pastors will say, this is your testimony to do. You have to show the world that you can bear this burden. So you don't need to seek out any additional supports because this is what you were put on this earth to do. So it can be, one end of the spectrum or the opposite end with regard to church.
Have you done any work to educate pastors?
I have. I've done a lot of work because, in dealing with parents, that's a lot of my main focus. That church hurt is real, and understanding how, one, what autism is, why you shouldn't consider it a disease, and how it's so harmful and hurtful to actual autistic individuals, the things that are said that may be a part of their community. So, giving them that knowledge there, and then also equipping them to be able to better support the parents that they serve as well.
Yeah, that seems like such a great starting point, especially if that's the first point of contact
Mhm.
that the parents are going to. Having
Yes.
that pastor refer them out to the services that are available.
Most definitely, and equipping them with, what to say to parents, because for some it is definitely a grieving process that they're going through. As parents, we have before our children have even come earthside, we've already made up our mind of who these children are going to be. um, and then for some parents, when they get that autism diagnosis, it's foundation shattering for them. They're like, well, I don't know who my child is going to be, because a lot of times we don't have representations of um, autistic adults who are, thriving and independently living, and, can help us in guiding our children. So it's kind of like an unknown, and we're feeling in limbo because we don't quite know what this means, or, how does this change my child? So for some parents, it is a grieving process that they have to go through. And of course, in the Black community, that first person that they may be going to is their pastor. So equipping them with how to handle that is, crucial.
Mhm, mhm. And they're receptive to the training that you're providing?
Some are, and some are not.
Okay, yeah.
Mhm.
Are they still thinking that maybe it's, like a, I don't know, possession of spirits maybe, or
That, or the fact that it can be cured, and that is not the answer. In having them
I see.
understand the difference of a medical diagnosis that can be cured, and actual understanding my brain and how it is neurodivergent and works this way.
Mhm.
So explaining it on that level for them, and understanding also how it can just be so hurtful to the autistic community when you say these things about curing and shots and all of these things that are just so harmful, and that perpetuates the misinformation that a lot of parents are getting.
You've been watching Autism Knows No Borders. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Also, we'd love to hear from you, so let us know what you think in the comments section. Click here to watch this interview in its entirety. You can also find us on your favorite podcast app. Tune in each week for engaging conversations of how people across the globe are inspiring change and building community. Thanks for watching. Take care.